you're you're in a beautiful studio there.
You know what this is actually? It's a picture. Well, it's virtual reality because I, like everyone, am trapped in my room most of the time. And so I've been learning how to play with green screen and been making videos and learning about Final Cut Pro and all that. But this is a picture of Mahogany Lounge in Calgary,
Oh,
right?
wow.
The jazz, live jazz venue.
I love it.
Fun.
I just want to fall into it. And
It's such a wonderful stage.
I just want to fall into it. Thanks for, agreeing
That's
to,
what that is. Yeah, that's what that is.
yeah,
Sorry.
thanks for agreeing to join me today. The whole idea is to share, with folks how we're doing, and to, let everybody know that how we're doing, and in hopes that people will relate, and I think we're all in a way having our individual experiences and not so often being able to share, you
Mhm.
know, what's going on individually, and so in some cases not even being able to identify what's going on, um, so I'm really happy to have you here because I know that you have a lot of experience. You
Yeah,
you know,
that identification piece really got my mind really thinking about. There's so much to say about what's happening globally, and the one big thing that I'm noticing is that ability, not capacity, but the ability to notice that I'm oh my, all I have is me, or all I have is my little four boxes for such big lengths of time. I mean, it's easy to distract and easy to find other boxes and things to do and whatever it is, but there's the ability to identify. This is the way you said that really tweaked it.
mhm.
Know that I'm having a dark night, or I'm needing to look in, not even needing, but I'm looking inside, and something's uncomfortable. I'm not even aware that this is like a forced self inquiry for many,
It
many,
is like a forced retreat.
like forced. This is an enlightenment intensive. My life is an enlightenment intensive.
Tell me who you are.
Yeah, exactly. Tell me who you are.
And you know what I've done this year? I've spent anywhere from an hour to 3 hours a day with Muji.
Okay.
And I've he's just on all the time. Um and sometimes uh like I have this my experience is that if I get to hang out with people who are of high vibration, your Dr. David Hawkins or your Eckhart Tolle's, your Ram Dass's or Muji's or Alan Watts, and which are all super available to us right now on virtually, even though some of those guys are gone. Um, they lift me up. They and So Hawkins, I know, I think you know Dr. David Hawkins a bit, and Hawkins had a scale, of 0 to 1,000, and I think I've spent a lot of my life in the lower realms.
That's how we all at least touched it mostly.
Yes.
Those people, I mean, the videos, like you say, even those that are gone. We've always had the capacity to go online and watch certain things, but it's the live that's happening now. So that Deepak Chopra is putting on his Instagram to say, hey, what's going on? And teach, of course. Everyone's doing what they're doing, watching musicians rehearse live, just doing scales. We're in each other's homes even more. So Oprah Winfrey cooking her dinner, drinking wine, not necessarily purposeful, just striving to connect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Russell Brand.
Russell Brand, like,
It's just, and that's who shows up actually on my feeds, who, is folks like that. And so this last year's been amazing for me in a way that I mean, and a lot of it started actually with you and Trevor at that last Enlightenment intensive that I was at in
Ravenna.
the fall of
Right.
of 19 2019, and where the clarity that I was not my story and what that really meant came in, and then Muji has just nurtured that, and now it's so obvious when I drop into it. Go ahead, sorry.
But just that the stories are the layers of stories are becoming more and more apparent as well, right?
Yes.
As we are under a forced retreat, particularly last year, and for some now this year again, where more is being stripped away. Things we would never think to strip away are suddenly stripped away, and the identifications and the desires and the needs and the wants, and also the corners of crazy train that are, really have the opportunity to clean out the closet. And I do notice the wanting and the wishing for high vibration by some, when where I hope that there won't be spiritual overrides. I hope that there won't be the like, I need to make it better, when because I'm a shadow walker, and that's what you did when you came and spent those 4 days with us in the woods. It's shadow walking. It's really taking the flashlight and uh, looking at the deepest, darkest corners of the psyche.
And to find out for me that that really isn't me, that I can just let that all go, you know
Well, I don't
and
know, just. I don't know if the word just let it all is a, in anybody's case, but
just let it go.
you have the opportunity to let it, once you find it and
Yeah.
actually see it, there's like my teachers have said, you have to know where you are before you can get where you're going, right?
Yes.
And so and it's hard. So, oh, I don't want to look at some of that.
Yeah. Yeah. and,
Cleaning out
and
the boxes.
so I think a lot of people are being exposed to that. I was at a memorial service a couple of hours ago today, uh, at 1 o'clock, and a friend of mine who had been to our meditation group for a year and a half, and who I knew in the 12-step world had really got to a place in a week or 10 days ago where he said, "That's enough. I'm not. I'm out of here." And
Mm.
and it's it's that's I mean, I'm not in a position to judge. I can't judge. I can only say, wow, I imagine that there was a lot of pain involved, and in lots of confusion and lots of, uh,
Isolation. In
yes,
some
I
ways,
love how,
obviously he had the opportunity to say, call you of all people. He could call and say,
yeah,
I'm feeling low, but it comes to a place where that doesn't even really occur.
yeah,
It doesn't matter.
hmm,
Not that he doesn't love you, but it's like it can't. It's just not even there. The darkness is so dark
yeah,
that the thought that a conversation with a friend might help doesn't often
yeah,
have meaning in those
yeah.
dark
And
corners.
we were all taken by such, uh, surprise. It was like, oh my gosh. I've actually had to look at the whole idea of suicide and the shame that we as a society place around it, that often family doesn't even want to admit that it happened, and
Well, that's kind of what I'm pointing at when I say the spiritual override,
mhm,
because if you if you can't come through it in pieces, in moments, with truth, with the supports, with the little bits, then the pressure cooker can become too much.
yes, you're
And we
you're
don't.
great at reaching out.
And it's hard to reach out. It's hard to say anything without the response being, oh, no, 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 right? Like on Richard, again, with the context that we share of the Enlightenment Intensive, we ask people not even to pass the tissue. If someone is crying, it might be the first time they've had a cry about that in forever, ever, ever. And so don't give them a tissue, because it might have the message of, don't cry, here you go, don't cry, stop
Yeah,
that. And social media it's all good, well intended. It's all, and I'm sure I do it. It's just that I've noticed it more so lately when I walk through. I had my brother died, and I've had people around me dying and sick, and everything, and the news and the media and the global catastrophes on top of the things that were happening before. I mean,
Yeah.
people are marching about, with half of all the us frontline people are like, now you're that made you march, like all the shit that's been happening, and that's what made you get off the, go outside. But anyway, um, the point just being that if when people post something on social media or tell their friends or tell their family, and the response is, but you have so much to be grateful for.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Pray, meditate.
Yeah.
And then it shuts down the conversation,
Yeah.
right?
I hear you. Yeah. When our job is to listen.
It's I think so.
Yeah.
To listen and reflect it, reflect truth, but from one's own perspective, perhaps.
Yeah.
Try and understand, listen and try to understand,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm. Yes. I get, I mean, I do a lot of work in this area. So I literally, I'm blessed with calls almost every day from people who are, you know, um, wanting to share or asking questions. Many of them, the question is, um, how do I, how do I build a relationship with a higher power? How do I find God? And what is God? And usually what is God is where I take them back to, and so it's a great time for that. The discovery of the self-realization, who we are
Mm-hmm.
is is that. And it's a beautiful experience. Hopefully, it's easy to get caught up in the outside world, isn't it? Around whatever money or the conspiracy theories or
Well, and it's important to be conscious of that. It's when the mind believes it to be true and the rest is forgotten. When the
yes.
love is forgotten, for example, when the light is abandoned, when the nurturing is, belittled, and anger takes over, and we stop listening again. We stop listening. And I work on front lines with children, and we don't tend to teach our children these things, right? If I had a way to a Christmas wish, I would wish that every person would sit and contemplate for a good part of their life what we are teaching our children
Hmm.
in everything. Look at anything, and just have that thought. What is that going to teach that 15-year-old, that 10-year-old, that 5-year-old riding in the car next to me, standing next to me, and how am I going to feed into that one way or the other? So it is important to pay attention to what's going on, absolutely. And yeah, the story, to identify with the story. I mean, I'm in walking, shadow walking, and really dark night when music is gone. Music, I want to cry just saying it, right? When we go online and we're practicing, we're trying, and we're live streaming, and jazz festivals are doing what they can, and music folk festivals and theater fest, all of the live things, and retreats, and people like yourself who are going online, and the identification and the fear of that is so difficult to relax the mind, for me to relax my mind around it. And the knowing, the intellect also knows that it will change things forever. There were things that will be changed forever. The ears of children. I watch babies in shopping malls, and they're imprinting while the whole world is wearing a mask. I wonder what the ears are happening with music and how we're learning. I remember Neil Young was disgusted when, anything other than an album or live, but other, any recording other than a vinyl. And he was like, no, it's terrible. What are you doing? And I just go, oh, he's probably, I don't know. So yeah, live music, I miss it deeply. There's a visceral, for creatures like myself, there is a visceral longing to perform beyond the diva who likes to be seen, which of course I I do, but it's the energy when I'm performing, when I'm playing my music, when I'm offering my heart, my gifts, my vulnerabilities, my truths, my perspective, my wisdoms. To do that on, it's just not the same. I'm sorry. On computer.
We have a piano in the house,
Oh,
and
note stuff.
both of my roommates play the piano,
My piano.
and so it's often, yeah, I see that, yeah, the piano is often, it's in the garage actually, and
Mm,
it's a an older rebuilt upright. It's quite nice, has a great sound, and so one of or the other of them is out there banging on it every day, and one guy is really good, re-
nice. Really?
really good.
And
And
is it cold? So it's heated, a heated garage.
no, it's actually cold. We put a blanket around it, and they put a heater in there, and
Oh,
they warm it up to so their fingers aren't too cold. But they're enthusiastic when they're out there in the cold playing that piano.
yeah. Well, just remember that there's aliveness to it, to an acoustic piano. So you don't
Yes,
let it be cold. In -20, make sure you're covering it.
it doesn't like to
Common
be
sense, your
cold.
musician stuff.
Uh, well, we are working on straightening things out in the garage a bit, and I'd like to get it in the house, but it won't be till next spring now.
Mhm.
You know, it's for the whole thing about finding a place to put it because you know, a lot of people let go of their big pianos, eh?
Yeah,
And
yeah. It's a
you know,
luxury for sure. I have one too in my new magical village that I live in. I live in a place that's called Prairie Sky, and it's
wow,
yeah, it's a collective of I think there were 20 of them at the start. They were, I believe, they were all or somehow affiliated with this particular Unitarian church, and they're project managers and tech executives and builders and landscape artists, architects. Oh, he's an artist too, but who got together and bought a piece of land and built this beautiful little 18 multi-unit condos with there's like 50 people and their families, and there's not a lot of little kids here anymore, and a few renters like myself. So it's pure, truly a place of consensus, communication, negotiation, and sharing. Everything we share. These people recycle. Oh my goodness, and regift and reoffer, and nothing goes to waste. And I've gotten some really cool stuff. But also who's got a ride to the airport and who needs some broccoli and who's sick. Well, man, when people get sick around here, soup ends up at your door and errands get
so
run.
is
And
your room for garden?
it's all garden. There's a landscape team who's in charge of that, building management team. I'm on the social team, of course.
Yeah.
But it's all garden. There's raspberry bushes all around the building, and in the spring, everybody has big plots in front of their condos that they know how to deal with, and balconies full of pots of things. It's
Um,
massively
I
beautiful.
I talked yesterday online to Malcolm Saunders from the Light
Mm.
Center, and Malcolm's really believes that inner city gardens are not just going to be a luxury, but
A
uh,
need. Yes, we've got vegetables and all of that happening. Yeah.
that the whole. I mean, so many of us are because there's he's of the belief that really our food chain, how things are moved is going to change, and he's got some. It was a great interview, but some ideas about the future
Yeah.
of the next 10 years as a result of this, stop. This,
This
uh,
stuff combined with climate change and the
yes, it's going to change a
damaging
lot
stuff
of things. It's
and
like we took the computer
burnout.
and unplugged it. It's a reboot,
Yeah.
and so it's interesting. I think really exciting times coming in a way, and I think there's potential for a lot of exciting, an exciting future. I'm a bit of an optimist, as you know.
I know, and I'm a bit of a pessimist. I'm a bit of a okay. Let's watch out. Like, where's the caution? Where are the thorns before I walk
Yes.
forward?
So,
Yeah.
where do you work? Can you tell us?
Yeah, I work for a company called Enviros Wilderness School, and there's about 4 or 5 different sections and buildings. They own different buildings, and a big piece of land where they take out addiction retreats and people who help youth 18 to 24 with addictions. And then there's the little ones, and then there's the sort of there's ones that are very specifically mental health, very specifically violent older youth, like. And I work in the open custody, so I'm the wellness, one of the wellness staff, weekend wellness staff. I'm not a caseworker anymore, but for kids who have been incarcerated.
Oh,
And
wow.
before they go home for their home, they often have to have like a year of lockdown at home and house arrest. And so I'm in the open custody unit where they still have a sentence. They still have they're still in jail in a way, but
Yes.
they're not in a cage of any kind. We don't The doors aren't locked. They're not locked in. Um, but they're not really, they can't run away. Like they can't leave.
So like a halfway house?
Yeah, yeah, something like that. We do a lot of life skills. We find their supports, resources. We take them on wilderness discovery, healing thing, find, connect culture, whatever the various cultures might be. There's a school and a teacher that comes in the basement, and they live there, so it's residential that way. And there's always staff awake supporting therapists, and then people like me who come in and teach them how to cook and whatever it is that they might need to succeed in life,
Wow.
tutoring, whichever it is. Connect them with different people and resources that way. I do a lot of the breathing and meditation and dieting, as you can imagine, and play basketball and we talk, but I don't play basketball very well. But things like that. I live with them basically for 8 hours. In my as 8 hours of their life is me and my team. So yeah.
Nice. How many would there be, like 2 dozen?
No, no. There are, its max capacity is 8
Okay.
in our place right now. There's not that many because COVID is slowing everything down, including we don't want kids to run away in COVID, so it's harder. They have to have a higher level of capacity to come to us right now, so we don't get that many. um, yeah, so
Okay.
vulnerable, struggling, trying to make a better life youth, and I hang out with them.
Well, I'm interested in that. I work part-time at Fresh Start now.
Oh, well done. Well, they're
And
looking for staffs. Like,
pardon me?
we need some overnight awake staff, so you can. We need some. You can,
I have done that 12 till 8
yeah,
shift, and it's a you know
it's
it just
well
really
shift
takes
work.
it out of me. I don't mind the 4 to 12, but the
Mm,
12 to 8 is a tough, you
yeah,
know.
I'm early morning to afternoon. Luckily, I have such an amazing, magical team, and so it's really quite a beautiful place where I work.
Mhm.
But it's heartbreaking as well. It's super heartbreaking.
Yeah. I was one of those kids,
Yeah.
I really was. I started leaving home when I was 13, and pretty much was gone by the time I was 15.
Mm-hmm.
And the street in Toronto, street in Vancouver, and so I was one of those guys. And of course, I didn't know that I was one of those guys. I thought I was having an adventure.
Of course, the consequences don't come till much
That's
later in
right.
life. The understanding of delayed gratification and consequences, right?
Yeah, I thought it was an adventure, and of course I was heavy in the drugs and didn't go to school, never did go to school, and so I have a big soft spot in my heart, but also an awareness of that lifestyle, and
Mm.
I don't suspect it's changed that much.
Yeah, I just dated dudes like you when I was a teenager.
The bad boys.
The bad boys. Yeah, I definitely feel like it's an uphill battle in many, many days, but it's fulfilling in its way. Yeah.
Yes. This is the first time I've ever worn these in an interview, but these are my blue blockers.
I have some too. Shall I put them on? We filter. My blue blockers. I got them. Someone gave them to me as a gift.
There she goes.
Oh no, that's okay. I'd have to. I don't know where I put them. I don't use them very
Okay.
much. I feel.
Um, I've read Dave Asprey's book. Dave is the wrote a book called Headstrong, and he really impressed upon us about the blue light. You know that we're surrounded in it. So usually about 10 o'clock at night, I put these on because it actually starts the melatonin moving. You know.
Really, I didn't know about the melatonin. I just thought, oh, maybe it's here. I just thought that it was to protect the eyes. Or I thought it was to protect the eyes.
Well, I do have lighting. You know, like I have some real lighting that you would have in a if you're doing video every day, which I am, and so
Yeah,
I'm sitting in front of a pretty bright light,
got it.
and that so this is yeah, this is actually feels pretty nice.
I'll have to miss on that moment of coolness. I don't know where they are. That would have been a cool moment. Anyway, yeah.
So so you like what you're doing work wise?
There's a politically correct answer to that. uh, and it's heartbreaking, it's challenging, and I do my very best to ground and center and just hold space and be the listening partner and do what I can. And it is emotionally depleting. And I did this full time for a long time in locked units, secured units, and it's a visceral experience to see what humanity does to children, what certain corners of humans, kinds of humans, what can be done to a child, and the resources that are not there. The shift work, the necessity of shift work in our field. It's difficult on the body. Funding cuts are massive. We get paid very little. Really, I mean, this work is for some people who are starting like relief workers. I think Manitoba is $13 an hour. Calgary is a bit more, $15 an hour to $17 an hour. We max out full time, really skilled social worker. We max out at $26 to $28 an hour. It's really a lot of hard frontline labor, and people get killed and we get beaten up. I've been bitten and punched and stuff, and so not that any money could make that less heartbreaking. I'm just saying, again, with what I was saying before, a little bit of my own mantra in the world about what do you want children? What is this teaching our children? You
Yes,
know, I have big fights about pornography, big fights about pornography, and um, I can get invested in those debates and points of privilege and patriarchy and versus
I have a
imitation.
friend came to visit me yesterday actually to for some counseling, and his 12-year-old daughter
Mm-hmm.
is they discovered has been sharing uh, quite revealing pictures and things.
Oh yeah, that's really normal. If one thing feeds like the expectation that the say, for example, I'm being a little stereotypical and normative, but masculine, little boys learn this is what sexuality is from pornography that's made by kind of toxic uh, places. And yes, I have an opinion. And then that reflects on, well, how am I going to attract as a feminine? How do I attract? What's the culture teaching me? What are my schools teaching me on how to attract these boys who are conditioned by the acts that they see that are more and more graphic every day and easy to find, like so easy. And then the continuation of girls feeding into other girls' ideas of what
No, I suppose, eh? Yeah, I never considered that they're following a model,
yeah,
and
watch
that
any television show.
this is what
Yeah.
boys want to see.
So yeah, and
And
that's sales. I mean, no offense, but it's not that hard to sell men stuff that are so inundated by sexuality. It's like you know, it's not. It's just it's a mind manipulation at a massive level. and it's conditioned, and so it's boys will be boys, majority, maybe not my inner circle, but of men, but that have maybe cut free from it, but it's not that they weren't exposed to it, or their little minds
Yes.
infected by it.
Certainly my conditioning as a youth was to objectify women.
Absolutely.
It was
And
just,
it becomes
and
more and more extreme as it's harder and harder to sell to you, because you become equal, you desensitize, la la la. It's more and more extreme,
yeah.
and same thing with pornography.
And part of my journey of awakening was to realize that I had been, I took that hook, I swallowed that hook,
You
you
really
know,
had no choice.
yeah.
It's far too easy. It's
And
a sharp, sharp, sharp knife on a little tiny.
yeah, spent most of my life trying to get approval, but I didn't have the ability to really even be there, because I was stuck in a concept, an idea of um, who we are, you
Exactly.
know.
Well, yeah, me too. I'm talking a good talk because I understand.
Yeah.
Philosophically, I really understand. And still, I have a lot of makeup on for this right now. I did my hair, like,
you're, you're
so I'm not going on. Although I did go gray with the rest of them last year. I let my hair go gray. I was like, look what the women are doing. And now we're putting up pictures of each other. Like, put up a picture of you, just you, black and white, raw, nothing. I was like, okay, I can get behind that. So I did that for a while. But
yes.
I'm back.
uh,
It's hard. It's
no,
hard.
it's a um, my imagining is that we can spend a lot of time becoming aware of the pitfalls, aware of the judgments, aware of the misconceptions, the concepts, the beliefs, and that's all good work, and yet um, you know I think that as we focus, like Hawkins says, on the love, and we continue to focus, not to say that the other doesn't exist, but as we kind of move towards what we focus on, and um, you know um, the exercise that we did, tell me who you are, is going deep into letting go of that story, and then and we actually pop out as our natural selves, which is who am I without the story? I am that love. I am that unconditional love without the
Absolutely.
story. I am that, you know, and
I think,
go ahead.
well, the phrase of letting go, like just let
Yes.
it go, gives the impression that I'm doing something, I'm getting rid of something, that
Yes.
there's an action I must do. I have to open, I have to let go. And yes, it's in the action of opening that it actually falls away. So
Yes.
in my experience, there isn't an action of like, stop doing that, or don't do that, or that's wrong, or that's not your story, that's not my story, that's not it, that's, do something else. It's the, even in the deepest, darkest night, in the most frightening places, there is a way to love even that, you see. And so it's when we keep pointing back to the love, it isn't, in my opinion, it isn't pointing at just love, it's good, it's heavy. That's not what we're talking about when we talk about love.
Yeah.
Fierce love is a thing, and also love is still there when it's horrifying. Love is there on the front lines of wars. Love is there when people are dying of COVID and they can't see their family. People, love is still there. So when we talk about let there be love, and love is all you need, like all the songs everybody's writing and talking about loving,
As if we're separate from it.
as if we're separate from it, and also as if it's going needs, at least there needs to be a specific context for love to appear.
Yes.
Even when I'm in the depths and the darkness and the grieving, I can still know in some ways that love is there. I can still focus, as you say, I can still allow myself to love myself even then, to love even that. And it isn't, yay, love. It's like, it's still to be in the heartbreak, and it's the vulnerability and the
without judgment.
it's the yeah I don't it's
Yeah,
the judgment, like
and even that, so for
maybe
me,
even that fear.
the gentle way that I do it, I guess, is that when fear comes in quite strongly,
Mm,
um, I I use prayer actually. Prayer kind of brings me into the moment.
mm,
And my concept of God is not a religious concept or from any training. It's just because sometimes I don't know what else to call it. Love. I can call it love. I can call it God. I can call it the moment. And but
truth.
when I'm experiencing doubt or fear or my story, which is always I'm not good enough,
Mm,
then my consciousness in the moment is I'm like I become aware, and as soon as I'm aware, love is there. Do you know what I mean? As soon as I'm aware, in not in an angry way, not in a chasing it away way, but just in a, oh look, there I am. I breathe into it, and it's like, oh, it melts away, and and
mm,
so, I mean, the beautiful thing that's happened is that I don't stay in it anymore. It's not. I know consciously that it's not true.
mhm.
I'm not that. I am. I am actually. I am that love. You are that love, like you just said. We are that, and the rest of it is a story. Often even came from a story that didn't really even happen. You know,
Mine just makes up. I know I can make some things up.
it didn't. A belief about myself from something somebody else said when I was 6 that
Mhm.
wasn't even meant the way I took it. You know what I mean? It's just it. So it's all a mirage, and it's so beautiful to be not in that, and then the mind, of course, my mind says, yeah, but what? Okay, so you got to be doing something, no, you know what? And I actually find myself this year just sitting, you know, just like, oh, there's really not that much to do, and it's okay to be, not always, but it's okay to just be with what is, and as if nothing's missing, just nothing is missing. Here we are, in this moment. Beautiful. So yes, but I love what you said. Love is everywhere. Where is love not?
Where is love not? Different aspects of love, and I love what you said about you use that word God because you don't know what else to call it, and I've often said things about those three letters, G, O, and D put in a row can make people kill, um, all literally, and in the disagreement. And yet, at least when I gather clan, when I gather with tribe, happily, luckily, um, I can have a knowing that regardless of what that word means to you, we can agree on what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Like we can agree on the essence of what I'm talking about. And, especially I want to be sensitive for those who've had trauma from different religious corners. There's so many of us have had trauma from a religious
Yeah.
faction or dogma. And and yet I don't know what else is most true. I don't know what else is higher power, maybe higher self, universal consciousness. There's words, but when I say God, there's something different that arrives,
Mhm.
and maybe some people have to chew a little bit longer to get to where I'm going, but I find that they arrive with me, and we can have
Yeah.
that conversation about what's even here in the computer between us.
Yes. Yes. When I work a lot with newcomers, or in the 12-step world, and
Mm-hmm.
and and I say to them, look, I'm not interested in you believing in God. What I'm interested in is helping you to have an experience, a knowledge of, an awareness of, a consciousness of, um, you know, and God consciousness, and they're like, wow, well, that's good because I don't believe in God. Great.
I had something so cool from Glennon Doyle, a book she wrote called Untamed, and she's talking with her partner who has been traumatized by the church, and they're lesbians, and so because of that, in especially back in that day, this is in the 70s or 80s, they were traumatized by churches. And she says to her partner, who's upset about something regarding a priest over there has done something, whatever, and God, I left God, is what she's. I turned away from God when I left the church. And Glennon Doyle's response was, well, I think that you and God left the church. In that moment, you made a decision to leave the church with, and God came with you. It isn't
Of
in that
course.
building. It's kind of what I. Anyway, it's great.
Yes.
Untamed. I highly recommend it.
No, well, that's beautiful because I think that many of us recognize that the peace that we have is this relationship with, like Eckhart Tolle said, in the moment. But we can call it the moment, but that doesn't really kind of do it. We can call it love, and I think that the more we talk about how different ways of that we got to that
Mm-hmm.
opens the door for others, and because when people are feeling alone and numbing themselves with um, drugs, alcohol, porn, food, all of the classics, then you know if they can just be still long enough to recognize who they are inside, who that essential belief or essential knowingness is deep down in every one of us.
Yeah. But learning to listen again and come listen. The stillness isn't about a physical. I'm just learning this still. So I'm the being still, the meditative places that we talk about,
Yes.
um, isn't a, isn't about the physicality per se, right? This
No.
thing about presence. Yes, it can look like that, but it's about the listening. It's about shutting up and shutting everything else up long enough that you might hear something new. You might experience that which we call God, or which we call
Yes.
depth of love, or your own like awareness. Yes, the mind is blah, 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 blah. The practice is to keep, okay, that's happening and that's not going to stop happening. Maybe monks after 30 years, I don't know. I've never met anyone.
Yeah,
But
it goes on. Yeah.
goes on, and it's
Yeah.
to learn that it's going on and let it go, let it release, and so it's, yeah, so it's just, again, it's about listening, I think.
Yes.
you know.
Yeah. So isn't it that with the kids that you're working with? I mean, so much of what we do with each other is behavior modification. It's not really about fundamental change. It's not really about them finding themselves, you know, and whether it's kids or like most newcomers in the 12-step world are, no matter how old their physical body is, they're about 13.
Okay.
They stopped maturing at 13, and so I'm dealing with children as well, and and they're, to help them find themselves. um it's interesting that I often I do quote Christianity sometimes, and Jesus said to his disciples, become fishers of men, because only drowning men can see us.
Mm.
And so there needs to be sometimes a level of desperation, that says, okay, I'm in trouble. I know I'm in trouble, and I'm not going to be able to manage this. I can't manage it, and that desperation moves us to to listen for that inside voice, to listen for that oneness, and like you've been a student, if you will, of this, for probably 25 years or longer.
Yeah, well, I've been literally a student studying the work itself, the enlightenment intensive work and presence and mindful communication and contemplation. Yeah, I started with a degree in psychology, and then moved into crisis and crisis trainings and all the different things we learn
Yeah.
throughout that to be a good youth care worker, that we have to know physical and suicidal prevention and so on. And then into the enlightenment intensive work, the retreat facilitation, and supporting people through that massive conditioning and traumatic things that we hang on to, that we believe are true, and all of that, through to their own anchoring into an enlightenment experience. And so I've trained in that as well to the master's level. And so yeah, there's been a lot of training, and as a participant, most of my training in this work has been on the floor as a UK worker and as a participant on the floor of the dyad hall, facing myself again and again and different corners.
Hmm.
This layering and the childhood and the father and the mother and the traumas and the beatings and the rapes and the pieces of life, the identifications, and yeah, I found my true voice on an enlightenment intensive.
I just had this intuition, and I remembered when I was a troubled youth, and several times there was an older woman like you who loved me in the moment, as a 13 or 14 or 15-year-old, whose love that, you know, um, opened the door, helped me to see, you know, and paved the path. And I'll bet that that's, really what you do.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. And I've watched, these kids who come from dark, dark places and heroin addiction and trying to just figure it out. And there's a boy in my life right now who's really, he's had an awakening experience through trauma, as you said, and then something else happened in his life that was massive, and I can watch him anchoring on to me and to the staff, and that's what we can do. Is okay. I got you. I'm watching. I can't fix it. I don't have the answers especially as a social services worker. We have very little power, very little money, very little resources. We're trying to make, Thanksgiving dinner from a turkey stick, drumstick or whatever, like,
Mhm.
and it's a little magic powder and fairy dust half the time. And and he teaches me watching the like watching that one those ones those young ones fight for their lives at times anchors me.
So
and
love is
and
is the
all I can
magic.
do is love them. Exactly, all I can do is love them, and I love them
Yeah.
through food often. Yeah, I cook for them a lot. I mean, I play music for them, and we nerd out, and they tell me songs, and I like, oh, I don't like that. I'm the old, the auntie, and all I can do is and listen. Again, this is the theme of this talk. It seems is just listen to them. They can figure it out a lot of times,
Yes.
but I couldn't have gone to you when you were 16 and say like you have to do that. All I can do is shine my light in their dark moment, and as best I can when I
And
can.
and and that's the powerful light that you have, though. I mean, that is to be there unconditionally, to not judge them, to be that love. It doesn't mean that there aren't boundaries and rules, but
Well, especially, yeah, there's a lot of professional boundaries, but I said recently to my supervisor about professional boundaries, I'm in their life. I am in their life. But
mhm,
my life isn't in their life, really.
no.
My life, it's so the essence of me is there. And but yeah, right through, yeah, I went back because of the pandemic, right? I had done this in my younger years in my education when I was 20s and 30s, and then went on to do other corners of workshops and retreats and places you and I have met. um, and so in the pandemic I went back to frontline because it was so needed, as well as I wanted to be of service, and
Um, you,
it's so challenging.
I was telling you, I think, I don't know if I mentioned or not, but last night at Fresh Start, we had our like a graduation. One of the groups was finishing, and they've been through their 14-week program, and 11 of these men from 22 to 65 years of age had gone through the program. My friend JR had been the facilitator and really loved them through this, and from where they came in October, to where they ended up last night is phenomenal,
Mm.
just phenomenal. And some of them coming out of Drumheller into, thinking they're coming to a halfway house, but they're coming really, to a recovery center, but the executive director, Stacy Pearson, spoke last night, and he was the last speaker, and he said the magic ingredients in this place is love.
Mm.
And which is coming from the top of that, for him to be able to speak about that, to say that, there's 45 men, and the love of those men for the other men heals them, and the love of the facilitators and the counselors heals them. It's not just knowledge, because knowledge without love is empty, you know
Yeah.
and so I think you're doing, that. I'm not making that up.
Thank you. Yeah. Um,
I'm sure you know that, that it's the only thing that makes a difference. Um, I had a PO when I was 18,
mhm.
and who Dorothy was her name, and I mean that's a few years ago, and I used to sit with Dorothy once a week for 3 hours sometimes, and we would just talk, and she just loved me and listened and opened the door, and and we stayed friends till I probably lost track of her somewhere in my 30s or our early 40s, and so I don't know where she is now, but she was at my wedding, and I mean, this lady really did love me into what eventually became recovery, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
love opens the door. It's a Yeah. So it's amazing you were in such a, I think, such a beautiful spot of opportunity, and if you ever need a man to come like me to hold a meditation, to talk to the kids, to tell my story. I was in the business, what business I mean, and all of that. And, I went through all that in street time, and now I'm on the other end of it, in recovery, and gave me a life, beautiful life, I'm always open to that.
Thank
If,
you.
if that's possible, I don't know.
Right. Not right now because well, we do Zoom connects and things, so we can talk
Yes.
more about what specifically might be, yeah, applicable.
I would do it any way you'd like. Can you, before we finish,
Hmm.
um, you know, so much of how I know you is through your music.
Yeah.
I wonder, would you um, sing? For uh, just imagine that it's just for me, but please, there's going to be a lot of people who would love to hear you sing.
Sure, I will. I would love to.
uh, yeah, everyone. Mira has the voice of an angel, and
I,
or the angels, voice of the angels. And so that would be great. I'll just be quiet, and you can go for as long as you like.
okay. Uh, yeah, this is not a new song, but it feels very applicable to what we've been talking about today. This one is a song that I wrote when I first learned, or first accepted maybe, the notion that there are times when there's nothing I can do to help. There's nothing I can do to support another in their journey when they're having difficulty, except be there, to just be there. And we've been talking a lot about. So, anyway, this one's called Stay.
Stay. Nice.
I'm here to walk with you in your confusion. I'm here when you put down the fight. cheer you when you're feeling ruined. I'm here to dance when I can't stop them hurting you. I can't stop your pain. I can't stop you worrying. But I can stay. I'm here to hold you through your darkest moment. I'm here to help you through the night. I'm here until you find your own love story. I'm here to shine when I can't stop them hurting you. I can't stop your pain. I can't stop you worrying. But I can stay. I'm here to hang on to when life gets stormy. I'm here and I believe in you. I'm here until your heart opens again. I'm here to sing when I can't stop them hurting you. I can't stop your pain. I can't stop you worrying. But I can stay. Stay. I can stay. I can stay.
That's beautiful.
Thank you for listening.
That was so beautiful. Mm. Thank you.
Oh, it was nice to visit with you, my friend. It's been a while.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks so much. Um, I'm sure it'll be face to face in May.
Yeah. Yeah.
Barbecue time. Okay. Love you so much.
Love you too. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye.